The Valari Empire's grand observation post hung like a jeweled pendant against the darkness of space, its crystalline structures refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Senior observer Kithful stood at his command center, his iridescent scales shifting from deep purple to bright azure as he reviewed the latest reports from Earth. "Another primitive fusion reactor," he muttered, mandibles clicking in amusement. 200 years of watching them, and they still haven't mastered basic antimatter containment. His assistant, Junval, projected the latest surveillance feeds onto the station's main display. The images showed Earth's apparent military installations, crude orbital platforms, and basic warships that would barely qualify as civilian transports in Valari space. Honored observer, Junval's scales rippled with concern. Should we not be troubled by their constant military expansion? Even if primitive, their numbers are substantial. Kithful dismissed the concern with a graceful wave of his upper appendage. They build toys, nothing more. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Even their best sensors cannot detect our observation posts. Deep within an asteroid belt at the edge of Sol system, Commander Sarah Chen watched this exact conversation play out on her quantum entanglement display. She allowed herself a small smile as she recorded another entry in the Earth Defense Force's massive database of Valari surveillance. The asteroid around her was hollow, one of thousands of ultra-advanced listening posts that humanity had built while maintaining their carefully crafted facade of technological mediocrity. For 2 centuries, Earth had hidden its true capabilities behind a smokescreen of apparently primitive technology. "Commander," her AI assistant Aria's voice was calm but urgent, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the Valari observation post. They're initiating faster-than-light communications at an unprecedented rate." Sarah's smile faded. "Show me the decrypt." The translated message appeared before her. "Priority ALPJ. Humans have established colony beyond permitted boundaries. Cleansing authorized. Glory to the Empire." "So," Sarah whispered, "they finally decided to make their move." She opened a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. "Command, this is Deep Watch Station Aurora. Implementation of Protocol Omega is now recommended. The Valari are about to discover why we spent 2 centuries playing weak." Across the solar system, hidden facilities began powering up systems that had never been tested at full capacity. Within the clouds of Jupiter, entire fleets of advanced warships stirred to life. Beneath the ice of Europa, quantum weapon platforms began their activation sequences. In the Oort cloud, long-range sensors focused their gaze on Valari space. On Earth, in the deep underground chambers of Defense Command, Admiral James Chen, Sarah's father, received her message. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, as had his mother before him, and her father before her. For 200 years, humanity had maintained this deception, building in secret, preparing for the day when the Valari would show their true colors. "Begin transmission of the Omega signal," he ordered. Across human space, quantum-encrypted messages reached every colony, every outpost, every hidden facility. The message was simple, but watchers have shown their hand. Execute Operation Shadowfall. In their observation post, Kithful and his crew remained blissfully unaware that their communications had been intercepted. They were equally unaware that the primitive fusion reactors they monitored were merely decoys, or that the crude orbital platforms housed some of the most advanced sensor arrays ever created. As the Valari warfleet assembled for their cleansing operation, Sarah Chen made one final log entry. "For 2 centuries, they watched us, thinking themselves unseen. They studied our weaknesses, never realizing they were studying elaborate props. They called us primitive, never understanding that we could have destroyed their observation posts at any time. Today, the galaxy learns why Earth spent 2 centuries preparing in secret. Today, the Valari learn why patience should never be mistaken for weakness." The massive Valari warfleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Earth's outermost colony. They expected to find a helpless settlement of primitives. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by ships that seemed to materialize from nowhere, vessels that bore no resemblance to the crude warships they had observed for centuries. The signal that reached the Valari flagship was broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect Valari language. You watched us for 200 years. Now watch carefully what we've been hiding. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had spent 2 centuries pretending to be weak, and the lesson would be written in light of dying stars. Grand Admiral Vextel of the Valari Empire stood on his flagship's command deck, his scales flickering between shades of crimson as he watched the human vessels materialize around his fleet. The ships before him defied everything the Empire knew about human technology. Their hulls seemed to bend light itself. Their energy signatures were unlike anything his sensors could categorize. "Impossible," he whispered, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. 200 years of observation. How did we miss this? His tactical officer's scales had turned a sickly gray. "Admiral, we're detecting energy readings that exceed our theoretical maximums. Their weapons, we can't even classify them." The human ships moved with impossible precision, their formations shifting like liquid metal, where the Empire had expected to find primitive fusion drives and basic shield technology. They instead faced vessels that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Deep within Earth's quantum command center, Admiral Chen watched the confrontation unfold through their quantum entanglement network. "Status of Operation Starkler?" he asked. Colonel Maya Rodriguez, head of Special Weapons Division, brought up a holographic display. "All Shadow-class vessels are in position. The Valari fleet is completely surrounded. Their faster-than-light capabilities have been neutralized by our quantum interference fields." The plan they had spent generations perfecting was unfolding exactly as designed. While the Valari had watched Earth's apparent military development, humanity's true fleet had been built in dimensional pocket spaces, entire shipyards hidden in artificially created folds of space-time. On the flagship of Earth's revealed fleet, Captain David Jung prepared to demonstrate why humanity had chosen patience over pride. "All ships, initiate protocol reverence," he commanded. "Show them what 2 centuries of preparation looks like." The human vessels began their synchronized attack. Quantum-phased weapons, technology the Valari had believed impossible, carved through their supposedly impenetrable shields like they didn't exist. Ships that had terrorized 1,000 worlds found themselves helpless against weapons they couldn't even detect. "Their shield technology," Maya reported, watching the data stream in, "it's exactly what we predicted. They never developed quantum phase harmonics because they believed their current shields were perfect. Classic example of technological stagnation through superiority." Admiral Chen nodded. Humanity had spent centuries studying the Valari's weaknesses while presenting only weaknesses of their own. Every piece of primitive technology they had allowed the Valari to observe had been carefully crafted to reinforce their enemy's sense of superiority. In space, the battle, if it could be called that, continued. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside the Valari formation at will. Their weapons didn't just defeat Valari shields. They ignored them completely, targeting vital systems with surgical precision. "Admiral," Vextel's tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice, "they're not trying to destroy us. They're disabling our ships, systematically." Vextel realized the truth too late. This wasn't just a defense of their colony. This was a demonstration. The humans could have destroyed his fleet at any time. Instead, they were methodically stripping away every advantage the Valari had thought they possessed. A transmission cut through all Valari frequencies. Admiral Chen's voice was calm, but carried the weight of centuries of preparation. "Your empire has spent millennia believing itself superior. You mistook our patience for weakness, our preparation for primitiveness. This demonstration is a courtesy, a chance for you to understand what humanity is truly capable of." The Valari watched in horror as their mighty warships were systematically reduced to floating hulks, their weapons and engines disabled by technology they couldn't comprehend. Not a single life was taken. A show of mercy that terrified them more than any display of violence could have. In the Quantum Command Center, Maya brought up another display. "Sir, we're detecting multiple Velari fleets mobilizing across their empire. They're preparing a full-scale response." Admiral Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Now we can show them why we really built the Phantom Fleet." He opened a channel to all Earth forces. "Begin Phase 2 of Operation Starkiller. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has been working on for the past 2 centuries." Across human space, hidden installations began activating technologies that would rewrite the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The Velari Empire was about to learn that they hadn't been watching a primitive civilization develop. They had been watching a technological giant pretending to crawl. And in the darkness between stars, humanity's true fleet began to emerge. Ships that made the vessels they had just revealed look primitive in comparison. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth had spent so long hiding its true capabilities, and the lesson would reshape the balance of power forever. The Velari High Council chamber, usually a place of serene deliberation, had descended into chaos. The massive holographic display showed feeds from across their empire, entire defense fleets disabled, observation posts gone dark, and most terrifying of all, their supposedly secret military installations being systematically revealed and neutralized. High Lord Zexthor, his scales shifting through shades of fear black and rage red, watched as another supposedly hidden base went dark. "How?" he demanded. "How do they know where everything is?" The answer came not from his advisors, but from the chamber's speakers themselves. A human voice, speaking perfect High Velari. "We know because we've been watching you watch us. Every observation post you built to spy on Earth had its own observers. Every signal you sent was intercepted. Every secret you thought you kept was cataloged and analyzed. On Earth, Dr. Elena Santos, Director of Sinological Intelligence, watched the High Council's reaction through their quantum surveillance network. They still don't understand, she remarked to her team. They're so used to being the most advanced species that they can't comprehend being outmaneuvered. The Velari Empire had spent millennia as the undisputed masters of space, their technology considered unmatched. They had never imagined that humanity had not only matched it, but had spent centuries developing countermeasures for every aspect of it. Across Velari space, their mighty warfleets found themselves hunted by vessels that seemed to defy reality itself. Human ships would appear from nowhere, disable entire battle groups with weapons that ignored shields and armor alike, and vanish before any response could be mounted. In the Quantum Command Center, Admiral Chen reviewed the reports with grim satisfaction. Status of Operation Ghostweaver. Proceeding exactly as planned, Colonel Rodriguez reported. The Phantom Fleet has disabled 60% of their military infrastructure. No casualties on either side, just as you ordered. This had been perhaps the most controversial aspect of humanity's strategy. They could have simply destroyed the Velari forces, but Earth's leadership had insisted on a different approach. This wasn't just about winning a war. It was about reshaping the galaxy's future. In deep space, aboard the Earth ship Prometheus, Captain Sarah Chen watched as her fleet executed another precision strike. The massive Velari shipyards around Nexus Prime, their most important military production facility, were being systematically shut down by weapons that the Velari had never even theorized could exist. They're attempting to transmit a new encryption pattern, her AI reported. Should we allow it? Sarah smiled. Let them think it got through. Let's see how long it takes them to realize we wrote their encryption protocols 2 centuries ago. The Velari Empire had prided itself on having unbreakable communication security. They never suspected that humans had been writing their encryption algorithms for generations, seeding them through seemingly independent discoveries by Velari scientists. In the High Council chamber, a young lord named Kithful, newly promoted after his observation post's warnings had been proven right, spoke up. The humans, they're not just more advanced than we thought. They've been orchestrating everything. every technological advancement we've made in the last 2 centuries. They've been guiding our development. The revelation hit the Council like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just hidden their true capabilities. They had shaped their enemies' technological development to ensure that when the confrontation finally came, the Valari would be perfectly vulnerable to human countermeasures. On Earth, Dr. Santos opened a direct channel to the High Council. For centuries, you watched us, believing yourselves unseen. You never asked why a species smart enough to reach the stars would develop technology in such a predictable, observable way. You never wondered why our primitive encryption just happened to develop along lines that matched your own protocols. The silence in the council chamber was deafening. Humanity hadn't just outmaneuvered them militarily. They had orchestrated the greatest technological deception in galactic history. Admiral Chen gave the order to begin the final phase of Operation Coastweaver. Across Valari space, quantum gates began to open. Massive portals that their sensors couldn't even detect until they were active. Through these gates emerged humanity's true fleet, ships that made even the Phantom Fleet look primitive. You've seen our deterrent force. His message to the High Council was calm but firm. Now you'll understand why we spent so long preparing it. The galaxy is changing, and the age of empire is over. The Valari were about to learn that humanity hadn't just been hiding their technology. They had been quietly reshaping the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. And they were about to demonstrate why patience and preparation were more terrifying than any show of force. The massive quantum display in Earth's central command showed thousands of points of light, each representing a Valari installation being systematically accessed by human quantum infiltration systems. But unlike the military targets that had been neutralized earlier, these were different. These were research facilities, technological archives, and cultural repositories. Admiral Chen watched as centuries of carefully planted backdoors activated simultaneously. "Begin protocol enlightenment," he ordered. "Let them see what we've been protecting them from." In Valari space, every quantum database suddenly began displaying the same information. Data about an ancient threat that their empire had never detected. While they had been watching humanity, humanity had been watching something far worse approaching galactic space. High Lord Zexthor stared at the data flooding his screens, his scales shifting to the pure white of absolute shock. This cannot be real." "Oh, it's very real." Dr. Elena Santos' voice came through their quantum network. "We detected them 2 centuries ago. That's why we began our preparation. Not just to defend against your empire, but to prepare the galaxy for what's coming." The data showed massive objects approaching from intergalactic space, entities that defied conventional physics. The Harvesters, as humanity had designated them, had already consumed 3 galaxies. Their arrival in the Milky Way was less than 50 years away. Captain Sarah Chen, now coordinating from the advanced command ship Athena, watched as understanding dawned across the Valari networks. "Show them the simulation," she ordered. Every Valari screen displayed a devastating truth. Their superior technology would have been useless against the Harvesters. The same technological stagnation that made them vulnerable to human countermeasures would have meant extinction when the real threat arrived. "Your empire's technology has barely advanced in 10,000 years. Admiral Chen's message reached every Valari world simultaneously. You stopped innovating, stopped adapting. We couldn't allow that. The galaxy needs to be ready." In the Quantum Command Center, Colonel Rodriguez brought up another display. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Valari core worlds. They're activating their forbidden weapons." Admiral Chen nodded. This too had been expected. Proceed with Phase 4. Across Valari space, their most powerful weapons, planet killers, and star destroyers that had been banned for millennia, began to power up. But as they did, human quantum systems interfaced with them seamlessly, revealing one final devastating truth. "Did you really think," Dr. Santos' voice carried a hint of sadness, "that we would have left your most powerful weapons untouched during our centuries of preparation? The Valari discovered that humanity hadn't just been monitoring their weapons. They had been subtly modifying them, improving them, preparing them for the real fight to come. Every forbidden weapon in their arsenal had been secretly enhanced beyond anything their engineers could have imagined. In the High Council chamber, Kithfall watched as test firing of these weapons showed capabilities that should have been impossible. They didn't just prepare to fight us, he realized. They've been preparing us to fight alongside them. Humanity's true strategy finally became clear. They hadn't spent 2 centuries preparing for war against the Valari. They had spent 2 centuries preparing the Valari for a war against something far worse. Admiral Chen opened a direct channel to the High Council. Your empire has stood for 50,000 years. We need it to stand for 50,000 more. Everything we've done, the deception, the technological guidance, even today's demonstration, was to ensure you would be ready when the real enemy arrives. Across human space, massive construction facilities began to decloak, shipyards and research stations that dwarfed anything the Valari had built. But they weren't meant for human ships alone. These were the factories and laboratories that would help rebuild and enhance the Valari fleet with technology they were now ready to understand. We have 50 years. Sarah Chen's message reached every Valari commander. 50 years to transform your empire's mighty fleet from an instrument of dominion into a shield for all galactic life. The question is, will you help us save everyone, or cling to your pride and doom us all? The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden technology or their strategic brilliance. It was their determination to ensure that when the real threat arrived, every species would be ready to stand against it. The Great Hall of the Combined Defense Council, newly constructed in Earth's orbital city of New Athens, hummed with activity. Representatives from every major galactic civilization gathered around a massive quantum projection showing the approaching Harvester fleet. At the center of the room, Admiral Chen stood beside High Lord Zexthor, their former enmity replaced by grim determination. The lunar defense grid is fully integrated with Valari quantum matrices, Sarah Chen, now Fleet Admiral of the Combined Forces, reported. The efficiency boost exceeds our projections by 300%. In the 5 years since humanity's revelation, the galaxy had transformed. The Valari Empire, once the supreme power, had become humanity's most dedicated partner in preparation for the coming storm. Their combined technological advancement had achieved in years what might have taken centuries. Dr. Santos, addressing the council, brought up new sensor data. The harvesters have accelerated. We now have 38 years, not 50. But we're ahead of schedule. Around the solar system, massive structures took shape. Defense platforms that combined human quantum technology with enhanced Valari energy systems. The ships of the combined fleet dwarfed anything either civilization had fielded before, their weapons systems drawing power from artificially created quantum singularities. Show them the Lazarus Project, Admiral Chen commanded. The central display shifted, revealing a massive construction in deep space. It was humanity's ultimate weapon, or rather, humanity's ultimate shield. A network of quantum gates large enough to evacuate entire star systems if the fight against the harvesters went poorly. We didn't spend 2 centuries preparing just to fight, Chen explained to the assembled representatives. We prepared to ensure the survival of all galactic life, no matter the outcome. In high orbit above Earth, the first of the new Sentinel-class vessels prepared for its maiden voyage. Its hull, forged from materials that existed at the quantum level in multiple dimensions, simultaneously, gleamed in the sunlight. The ship represented everything humanity had worked toward, not just advanced technology, but the combined knowledge and effort of multiple civilizations. Kithfall, now Supreme Commander of the Valari Defense Forces, watched the vessel with a mixture of pride and humility. If you had revealed all this 2 centuries ago, he mused, we would have seen it as a threat rather than salvation. That's precisely why we waited, Sarah replied. Your empire needed to learn humility before it could learn to truly advance. Now look at what we've achieved together in just 5 years. The quantum sensors that humanity had hidden for centuries now formed a detection grid that spanned the galaxy, enhanced by Valari power systems that operated at efficiencies their designers had never imagined possible. Every world, every species, now had a fighting chance against the approaching storm. In the council chamber, Admiral Chen activated the master display one final time. It showed not just the approaching harvesters, but the full extent of the combined fleet's preparations. Planetary shields that could withstand the death of stars. Weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in limited areas. Ships that could evacuate entire populations in hours. 2 centuries ago, he addressed the council. Humanity looked to the stars and saw 2 threats. One was an empire that had grown too proud to advance. The other was an enemy that devoured galaxies. We chose to solve both problems with a single strategy: patience. The representatives watched as the first full squadron of Sentinel-class ships moved into formation. Their power signatures were beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, yet they represented only the first wave of the combined fleet's strength. The harvesters expect to find a galaxy of divided civilizations, Sarah added. Instead, they'll find something unprecedented. A galaxy united, prepared, and armed with technology they cannot comprehend. High Lord Zexthor, his scales shimmering with determined purpose, stood to address the council. The humans knew that unity cannot be forced, that true strength cannot be gifted. They made us earn our place in this alliance, and in doing so, they ensured we would be worthy of it. As the council session ended, Admiral Chen looked out at the combined fleet assembling in Earth orbit. Ships of every civilization, their designs a harmony of different technological approaches, moved with perfect coordination. The sight represented everything humanity had worked toward: not dominance, but partnership; not conquest, but preservation. Send the signal, he ordered. Operation Eternal Shield is now active. Across the galaxy, quantum beacons activated, their message clear to all civilizations. The age of division was over. The greatest threat in galactic history approached, but it would not find easy prey. It would find a galaxy transformed, united, and ready. Humanity had spent 2 centuries pretending to be weak. Now they would spend the next decades proving why that patience had been the greatest strength of all.